$1 billion of new construction that we discovered in this year alone. And what that will equate to the county general budget, that's going to be $1 million infusion next year into the county budget with that new construction. When I started here, new construction, we were adding about $350,000 a year. But things are really booming here, keeping our appraisers really busy out there in the field. The next slide we're going to look at is county parcels. And so the county parcels, when I started in 2015, we were about 95,000 parcels countywide. In 18, we went to 105. In 19, we went to 106, almost 106.7. We jumped almost 1,500. In 20, we jumped almost 1,700. 21, we took a little bit of a dip, but it was still a 1,200 increase. And then in 22, it just blew through the roof at almost 2,800 new parcels that were created in the county. And I have 17 people devoted to keeping up with all of those parcels. Now, not only are they created on a daily basis, but they change hands on a daily basis too, for ownership. And we started out, we were doing about 55 deed transfers per day. Now we're pushing on 90 deed transfers per day that are going on with property owners switching property. And then I've got this other slide here with personal property. I have 11 full-time and 2 part-time people working on almost 119,000 assessments. And you can see the growth there. I only had I put up the numbers for 2021 because 2022 is still going on, and so those numbers are going to increase until we get to the end of December, even actually into January some, because some people miss that December deadline. And they wait until the following month. So that usually comes rolling in, the totals in January of 23. But we've seen from 18 to 21, we've seen over a 5-point increase on that. And then that's not even to mention we have 10,000 business personal property accounts. We have 6 people working full-time on that, keeping track of all the furniture, all the fixtures, all the equipment, and all the inventory of 10,000 businesses that are either opening or closing, and 6 people keeping them really busy. So we got a big job. It's really exciting because we've got all of these challenges constantly facing us, especially in an area like Washington County that's growing as fast as we are. This last slide is more for the people out there in the public. I know you guys already know this, but Washington, the assessor's office is a commission-based office, which means we are funded in direct proportion to the funding that we provide. And so since 82% of the property taxes that we bring to the table, 82% goes to the school, 9% goes to the county, we're funded in that direct proportion. So the majority of our office is funded by the schools. So to put that in layman's sense, for every $1,000 we need, 90 of that comes from the county general. And with that, I'll get into my budget. All right. Not a lot has changed. I highlighted a couple of things that I figured you guys might ask questions on, so I'll just go ahead and answer a couple of those real quick. 3005, special legal. That's been a hot topic here lately. I started that in 2018 when I started getting these, we were battling a large retailer that was looking to exploit a loophole and reducing their property values. And so we were on the front line of that for the state of Arkansas. And I knew I needed to make sure that we would have something in place if we needed to go to battle and we needed to hire a USPAP specialist, a property appraisal. And so I put that in place last year at $18,000. We looked at a couple of appraisal bids. If we have to go outside and get a third-party appraisal, we need to have that money ready instead of waiting a month or two to get it approved through the quorum court. We don't have that kind of time because we're right in the middle of Board of Equalization appeals and county judge appeals, and those take place by the end of the year. And so when that comes in, we need to, and we don't know if we're going to circuit court or county court on something, so it has to happen pretty quickly. Those wheels got to turn, because then we got to get the appraisal, and it takes time to get that appraisal or find someone to come in and help us defend our values against these large retail businesses or industrial companies who hire attorneys who make a lot of money lowering those values. So it's a good safety net for us to have in case we need it. Didn't have to use it, probably won't have to use it this year, but or probably won't have to this year because we got a real light schedule so far. We only have fewer than 20 appointments scheduled with our Board of Equalization right now. We still have 2 weeks for people to file appeals, and those will come in, especially as you get close to the deadline. But you never know when now next year is our 2023 countywide reappraisal. So next year we're going to be very busy with appeals. We will have hundreds of appeals, and that's usually when we get attacked with a big company coming in, and I start getting emails from tax reps wanting to ask certain questions, and so I know to get ready to prepare for that. So that'll be coming up next year, so it's definitely could be used next year. The other thing that jumped up real big is other professional services. We've had a heck of a time finding employees through the traditional means of posting it on the website, especially when we need people who have bilingual capabilities. So our last 2 hires we've contracted with First Employment, and they found us 2 really good folks. One of them works at the Springdale DMV in our personal property department, where we have a lot of Spanish-speaking people. And we very rarely get anybody who has bilingual capabilities by posting it on the website. And then we got another person. We lost a bilingual person in our real estate side that we really needed someone that was bilingual, and they were able to supply 2 folks there. And so that's about $10,000 a pop. I probably don't have enough money there, but I think, I'll make it work. I probably should have jumped that up from 15. I should have made it 30,000, but I didn't want to give you guys a heart attack either at the same time. But that's why that jumped up. Internet connection went up a little bit there, 5,000. We just needed more bandwidth. We're running a lot more data, and we're running a lot more sophisticated equipment, and it takes more of that bandwidth to run it. We're still having some issues with our maps not pulling up fast enough because we just have so much on there, and we're keeping IT busy overnight trying to keep it to where our people are keeping up and being efficient and not having to wait for that thing to think. And so we've had to increase that. And then software down there at the bottom, 3102. That's a big jump. Some of our software people have gone up a little bit because of the inflation, but the big bump comes from a company called Just Appraise. We're right now exploring. Bill Ussery charged me with, utilize technology, the best you can. As I'd mentioned earlier, we're processing more deeds. We haven't hired more real estate people, but we're almost double the amount of deeds that we're processing. This new technology that has come out, they tried to purchase a couple years. It wasn't up to the speed that we were at. We're giving it a try this year. It looks a lot better. What it does is it uses the computer can read the deed and transfer the information to the new owner automatically. And so that would allow us to process these deeds at a faster rate utilizing this technology. We still need people to oversee it, but it's getting done at a much faster pace. We're trying it out right now. We're doing kind of a preliminary, we're just trying it out, kicking the wheels on it, test driving it for 3 months to see if it's really going to be beneficial or not. If it works, and it works like they say it does, and we want to see it, make sure it does, then it would be about a $60,000 addition. It's like 50-something and some up in the high 50s and some change. If not, then we won't use it. We'll give it back.
Thanks, sir. Questions for Assessor Hill? JP Essery.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your work on this. I have a couple of questions. One of them is, are all of these funds that we only pay a small percentage comes from us? Or
Yeah.
are they broken out by different?
Yeah, this particular fund, this particular budget that I went over here, that's a 9% impact to the county. Yeah, we do have a couple of different, like Amendment 79, 0 impact on the county general. Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify on that. And then, what you're just talking about, the just appraise, how much savings do you think that will give you?
Well, it could potentially keep us from having to hire 2 to 3 additional people in the future. You know, right now, and it may be, I mean, right now we're doing a pilot and a trial run of it. We're not over impressed with it right now, so I don't know if we're going to push the trigger on it for next year if the funds are there. It may be that it's still a couple more years out. We've talked with other counties who've used it. Some of them love it. That's why we thought, well, let's at least give it a pilot try and let's try it out and see if that could help us. And then we got to, you know, look at that too on where we are with the workload that we have. I know that we're kind of pushed right now, but it could be something that could initially save us from having to add 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in the future if it works like it's supposed to.
And then would this be a reoccurring every year amount?
Yes, it would be an annual. Yeah, it'd be an annual fee for maintenance, upkeep, and the software licensing for it. So yes, but you're basically paying for one person that could do the work of 7 or 8.
Okay. And thank you very much. And once again, I really appreciate all your work on this.
Yeah.
J.P. Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Hill, I just want to confirm what I heard. On the 3005 line item, you have not spent any of that money to date?
I didn't last year, and I haven't so far this year. But we haven't started our Board of Equalization appointments yet. So, and we usually when you get those, the only time we would really have to look at hiring out on a specialist to come in or get a reappraisal bid is when you do either a big industrial or a big, like we almost had to with Cargill back in 2015. They tried to do some stuff, and we were able to fix that. The mall is another one where every year they're coming at us, and we're working on things, and we try to come to a happy medium, but sometimes I can't justify it. And so that's when we have to bring in a third-party appraisal, and those typically run for the mall, and theirs was about $17,000, and that was a couple of years ago.
I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Just on that, it might be semantical, that 3005 line item. Is that legal? I mean, maybe is that?
Yeah, because we might have to. It would be to. I don't know. I don't know if we could. I mean, if it would be into professional services, but I almost. You know, I don't know if it would. I'm not sure which one, but I've got the profession. I've got money in professional services too, but. Because it could be, yeah, I mean, it could be that because we might need to hire, Pulaski County had this a couple of years ago when Walmart, they filed for all 10 of their stores and Sam's Clubs in Pulaski County, and they hired 2 attorneys.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it was a lot more than 20,000. It ended up, yeah, it was. I think it hit the 6 figures on
Gotcha.
that to defend it.
What are the notes up in the salaries area? What are those? Like note 1 and 2? It says back here,
COLA, cost of living, yeah.
Okay.
Cost of living increase. So I typically do a 3% cost of living for our part-time people. And then, yeah. So that's
usually in the way we've approached this, at least last year and this year, we take all those up kind of at one, right? As a quorum court at the end. All employees and their COLAs and things like that. Is there a reason why there should be an exception to this? The
part-time's different.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Part-time's kind of its own animal.
I gotcha. Okay, that's a good.
And I think we actually too. I think when we looked at it, we had one person on there that that they didn't have their benefits or all of their stuff.
Yeah, and that might be some of the note two. There's a note two, they're talking about part-time being on health and some of the.
Yeah,
some of the
yeah,
benefit stuff.
they didn't have that person on there, and they should
How
have.
how many part-time people do you employ?
Two.
Two, okay.
Yeah, and that's at Fayetteville and Springdale. They help with there's always a big line in the morning. Everybody thinks they're going to get through sooner.
Before work, yeah.
And so we have them there at the beginning, and then they work through the lunch period. That way we constantly have 4 people there.
I was actually at the
Or 3 to
Springdale
4
Revenue
people there.
office this
Oh.
morning, and I think the young lady that's bilingual helped me out, and it was
Oh, yeah,
a good
Angel Lee.
deal. Yep,
Yep.
she was. I was appreciative of it. So, any other questions for Assessor Hill? Okay, thank
Okay.
you, sir. Appreciate you. Next up, we have Circuit Court Division 1. I believe I see the Honorable Doug Martin back there. Judge Martin?
My first request is that I don't have to follow Russell anymore, or, this is my preference,
I got you.
he can make my presentation for me. I don't like following him. He's,
Noted.
puts on,
Noted, absolutely
if I
noted.
need to push anything, it's red, but
You don't have a
you can-
PowerPoint prepared that we could put up on the screen?
I don't have to, no. There's a lot of reasons I don't like following him.
All right, yeah, I got you.
Okay, yeah, so I'll try to jump in as smoothly as Russell did, and mine's not nearly as interesting or detailed. We are seeking a total increase, or my office is seeking I'm seeking a total increase in the budget of $750, which will raise the entire budget from 2022 this year from $36,862 to $37,612. And let me see. So I hope that y'all have copies of this in front of you, and hopefully they're even highlighted. So the 2001 line item, general supplies, we just applied it actually says 5% plus increase, and the reason it says that plus is because the math got it to about $149.56 or something, and I insisted we round it up to $150, so that is just over 5% increase that we are calling inflation. The line item 2005 is for jury food. This is our biggest request, and it would be actually a precise 5% increase, again based on inflation, for an amount of $500. So it would raise our food budget for juries from $5,000 to $5,500. And then the last part of our $750 is we purchased a second cell phone after year 12 or whatever we're in of the COVID. We finally gave in, and that costs us $100 more a year, I believe, to get that extra line, which has been helpful when we're working from home, or not out of the office, wherever we're working from. So, and unless y'all see something I don't, I believe I've covered my entire request. And yeah, I'm just going to skip the slides. It's
Okay.
so straightforward.
Questions for Judge Martin? Well, I'll tell you, Judge Threet came in here Tuesday and said his budget was a masterpiece, and I'm afraid he has some competition. We
Well, I
appreciate
heard
you.
that. I heard that.
We appreciate you coming, and we appreciate you giving us the chance to look at it with you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all looking at it. My excuse?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
all
sir.
right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next up, we're going to hear Circuit Court Division 5, Judge Beth Story Bryan, or her representative. Let's see.
Good evening. I am glad I don't have to follow Russell. I'm fine following Judge Martin. No offense to Judge Martin. My docket, just so you all have a little bit of background, I hear 25% of all probate for the county, and then 20% of all civil, And then I believe, and I didn't bring the sheet with me, but I believe it's 25% of all domestic relations. Recently, Judge Taylor gave up all of her domestic relations, so it was absorbed by myself, Judge Threed, and Judge Warren. And so I think that upped mine to 25. I may be off by a percentage point. And so I have no net change to my budget request, but I have flip-flopped 2 columns. So I was going to explain to you guys why. The jurors and witnesses, last year I had a budget of $10,000. I've only had 1 jury trial this year. It's just, even though I have the same amount of percentage of the civil trials for the county, it's just so unpredictable. Of course, we didn't have any through COVID, but it just seems, certainly the trend is that those are going down. So that's why I decreased that number. And then I increased the amount for attorneys ad litem. So those are attorneys that we appoint to represent children in either probate cases where there's custody at issue, or domestic relations cases, divorces, custody reopens, where the facts are either so egregious that we need someone to represent the children, or sometimes both parties, the mom and the dad, are pro se, meaning they're representing themselves. So there's a lot of information that the court doesn't get because there's no, trained attorney involved. And so I appoint attorneys, and of course I need a fund to pay for those. So for the past, I think, 6 to 7 years, all of us have had $7,500, but because I'm taking an increased percentage from Judge Taylor, that's why I'm asking for more. Not only because I have an increased caseload, but with the economy, we're seeing more and more people representing themselves because they can't afford to hire an attorney. Certainly more drug use and more situations that involve the protection of an ad litem for the children. And those ad litems, they go to the schools, they go to the counselor, they subpoena medical records, they do home visits. So they're really instrumental in helping the court make decisions as to custody of children, or perhaps if children should be removed from the home altogether. We have that happen a lot as well, and end up being placed with family members. So that's the reason for the change.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Questions for Judge Story Bryan? Thank you, Judge.
Thank
Yep.
you, and I do want to commend the county. I believe we're one of only 2 counties in the state that has the ad litem program paid for by the county budget, Benton County being the other, and we're the envy of all other counties in the state for you all placing that importance on protecting children. So I want to thank you all for allowing that in our budgets each year.
Wonderful. We'll take
Okay.
good news when we can get it.
That's right.
Thank
you.
Next up is Circuit Court 6, Honorable Judge Mark Lindsay.
I have some pictures of my grandkids that we could flash up here. The only change that I know of there's 2 that I know of in our budget. I don't think we asked for any more money, and I'm pretty sure one of these would have been reflected as a decrease. We had a cell phone that we turned back in, and so that's not a lot of money, but it would be a small decrease. And then the copy machine that we have, I'm afraid to open up the bottom of it because I really believe there's 2 little monks in there that when you stick something in there and it rolls in, they copy it by hand. It is the slowest thing I've ever seen. So anyway, we lease it, and my bailiff went around and looked to see, if anybody else had anything faster, and they did. So we have contracted to do that. But guess what? They're waiting on a chip or something. We do not have it yet. Other than that, I can't think of a thing that's changed in our budget.
Thank you, Judge Lindsay. Any questions? We appreciate you, sir. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very
We really
much. I appreciate everything that y'all do for the courts. We are state courts, but we don't have a budget for any kind of offices or anything like that. So I appreciate the county helping us out, and we're going to need a little bit more help probably in Kyle's office, because the filings have just gotten COVID and being backed up. We're probably gonna need to ask for another deputy clerk or something to be what they call an orders clerk, because they file all the orders for the judges. So I've been talking to Kyle about that, because it just came to my attention that my trial court assistant was doing some of it, and it was causing her to come early and stay late. She's a state employee, it's not in her job description, plus she was thinking about quitting. So we're gonna need some help probably down in Kyle's office that we'll talk to you about later.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, item number 8, Public Defender's Office.
Give them anything they ask.
I'm sure they have a request too.
Good evening. I'm Leanna Houston, the Chief Deputy at the Public Defender's Office, and Blake Chancellor is one of the attorneys as well. I wanted to first let y'all know of the third FTA clinic that we held yesterday. The judges, the prosecutor's office, and our office all participated in it. We had the help from 2 local churches and a lot of the community people to put it on, and we had over 30 people show up so that we could work on getting them back on the docket or getting their cases pled. And that meant there were 30 people yesterday who we took care of their case without them having to go and spend 30 days, 60 days in the jail. So we've done 3 of those this year. It's something new we've started. And I wanted to let you know that we are trying to do things to keep people out of the jail and keep the population lower. But that took all of our time yesterday, and we're worked on it some more this morning, and we'll have more set for tomorrow morning. So that takes a lot of time and effort by the attorneys and our law clerks and our staff, as well as the judges and the prosecutor's office. So I wanted to let you know that we do hear your concerns, and we are working to address those and be creative in what ways we can to solve them. I met with the prosecutor's office when we were working on our budget, just as we did last year, and what Matt and I talked about trying to do was to increase our law clerk positions, because right now it's law students who are required in those positions, and we both pay them $12 an hour. And with that being about minimum wage, we decided that for somebody who has completed an undergraduate degree and who is in law school, they need to be paid a little bit more than minimum wage. And so we both included in our budgets for that to be at $15 an hour. And we're asking for the same number of law clerks with the same hours in the part-time part of our request as the prosecutors have, so that we're on parity with them. It is a position where they can help the attorneys extensively. They can help us get a lot more done. They're helping us a whole lot when we're down at arraignments. They're helping us process that paperwork. They're helping us with the discovery as the prosecutors send it to us to get that into the files. And so for $15 an hour, it's a lot more we can get them to do, and it's a lot more bang for your buck from the quorum court of what we can do with your money. So that is our big request in our budget. The other requests are similar as to what I believe Matt was asking for, as far as just prices going up and increases. Last year y'all had us start the UpTrust program to send people notifications of their court dates as reminders to try to prevent failure to appears, and I've attached a letter from them. Or actually it's the Justice Work, which is our program requiring that we use to put all our reports and our paperless system for our office, and they're increasing their cost. And so it's just that everything is going up in price as far as what we're needing to run our office. And so I've attached the letter from Matt. As y'all probably remember from the last 2 years, we had a lot of rain coming in the office and a lot of leaking. And last fall, Dwight Gonzalez and his team came and tore out the cabinets and tore out everything. in a back room where the water had been coming in, and it has been sitting like that since then. And so he sent me this email and asked for me to include this in the budget as far as repairing it. I know he came and did mold testing on it. I don't know what the results of that were, but it's all just been sitting like it is as well. And so that's what his letter is requesting. And he says he thinks he can get this done for $30,000, and that's, his request is included in this. And so, do y'all have any questions?
JP Johnson.
Yes, help me with the math on the 1002 line item.
Yes, sir. That's all for the law clerks.
Hang on.
It's all for the law clerk positions, so that we have, and it'll be the same as what the prosecutors is, where we're asking for $15 an hour for 5 law clerks doing 25 hours of work a week.
Beth, you're asking for a 25% increase, which I get it. Last year's budget was 32,000. A 25% increase makes that 40,000. And then you're adding 2 additional people. I'm struggling with how we get from 32 to 97.5. That's what I'm struggling with.
Okay, we've had 3 law clerks doing it. We're asking for 5 law clerks. And then I believe that Matt's office has been using them for more hours than we had been allowed in our budgets in the past.
So you're spending more than the 32 is what you're saying.
It's been very hard to keep it within the 32. And so we're needing more, yes.
If I may, I believe what you're asking is the hours we had.
You're gonna
scheduled-
have to get closer to that microphone. You guys are gonna have to.
I believe what you're asking is that the hours are 25 hours is what was in our budget before. The number of hours that the prosecutors' clerks were allowed was, I believe, at a higher rate, or no, a
Ours-
higher number.
Ours were at 15 and the prosecutors were at 25. So we're
Correct.
asking for 25, just like the prosecutors have now.
I'll do my own math and I'll see if I can. So you're talking
Ju-
5 clerks.
Justice Johnson, could you cue your mic? Cue your mic.
I can't hear him talk. You're talking 5 clerks, 25 hours a week at $15 an hour. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Comments? JP Estrie?
Thank you very much. I think it's a good idea for you to turn those into 2 offices. I think that we certainly, I think all of this put together between the 2 offices and the additional people, you're gonna need the offices, obviously.
Yes,
And I think bringing the additional people in should help us overall to move people through there much faster.
Yes, sir. Last year, I know that Mr. Dennis, who is here, came and toured our office. And it's very crowded. We have everybody sitting in hallways. We've turned our break room into an office. Our conference room has 2 people in it. And so we're hurting for space and for areas to work in.
Inevitably, the question comes up.
Hang on, I think he,
I just wanted to clarify.
You gotta have to move that mic over to you.
I just wanted to clarify the math again for you. So it's 5 positions at 25 hours a week at $15 an hour, and that's the 97.5.
and it's the exact same number that the prosecutors have.
Inevitably, the question always comes up, right? Is there no process for the state to fund any of these? They're responsible for this staffing, right? At the granular level, they're the ones that are primarily should be responsible for it, right?
They have never been responsible for any of the law clerks in the whole state.
So there's no process to even for you guys to even approach them about this, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay.
And just to clarify, because I wasn't aware of this until we went down and talked to the legislature at one point last year. The way it was set up was actually the Public Defender Commission, the support staff for those positions is not included in that when that passed, that was not included. The prosecutors went and did that separately. That's why a lot of the prosecutor positions have more state funding, because that is actually in the state code. And so, yes, there is a great discrepancy between the public defender, where that money comes from staff versus the prosecutors.
Gotcha. I just want to clarify this for everybody watching and listening. Not only do they not do it, but, based on they just don't want to, they cannot do it by law. Is that what that's what you're telling us right now?
That is what I was informed of by the legislatures that we met with, correct.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
They laughed and they said that the prosecutors learned from our mistakes when the state was writing the legislation for the Public Defender Commission and the prosecutor coordinators. They saw that where they had left out things and made mistakes, and so they added that then when the prosecutors went before them.
Yeah. We could stay here all night talking about our frustrations with the state and funding, but I mean, particularly you guys' office seems to run into it, an unfair share of it, if I could say that.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the public defenders representatives there? Thank you, guys. We appreciate you coming, talking to us, and letting us ask some questions. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, final item on our agenda this evening is our public comment section. We have a 12-minute public comment section with a limit of 3 minutes per person. Any public comments?
Danielle Howerton, Electric Avenue in Springdale. I just want to say that I did not know about the disparity between the Public Defender's Office and the Prosecutor's Office at the state level, and I think we have a great opportunity to match that, to make that disparity less. I think that's an important part of serving the county, is to make sure that the Defender's Office is adequately funded. So I thank you for hearing that today. Thanks.
Public comments?